نعم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا وهدى وتقا ورشادا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم فقهنا في الدين وعلمنا التأويل. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من علم لا ينفع ومن قلب لا يخشع ومن نفس لا تشبع ومن دعوة لا يستجاب لها. نعوذ بك اللهم من هؤلاء الأربعة. ما بعد ثم ما بعد، فحياكم الله جميعا في الدرس الثاني عشر في شرح مختصر النحو المفيد للمبتدئ فيه والمعيد. في الدرس الماضي أخذنا وانتهينا يعني من جميع تقسيمات الاسم, the different classifications of ism. We have finished them. Of course, I did ask you to prepare for it, but then I prepared a quiz that was going to be like just to add one level of difficulty. I added to it the masail related to the fi'l, to the verb, and that to the harf as well, so that it can be more comprehensive, and it can serve as a test for or it can serve as a motivation to be absolutely prepared for the first half of Nahw. See, in the first half of Nahw, we said that we are going to learn about the word, al-kalima, and we're going to learn about its types and how they end, how they change with respect to their i'rab, with respect to their roles in the sentence. So one of the most important things or purposes or objectives of the first half of Nahw were to be able to identify the words properly, to be able to determine what that word exactly is, and to be able to browse through the different classifications that we have learned, and check exactly what that word is. And inshallah, so bismillah, once we're done with the classifications of fi'l, and then we prepare for the quiz, that's going to be even more beneficial. If we had only if I make it easy for you, and I tell you beforehand that the following word is an ism, then things become relatively more easy. So I think that'll be more suitable. I thought so, that if we do it after fi'l. Also, because this sort of a quiz, it was difficult to make on Google Forms, because it was an answer-based quiz. So the answer you give, then in accordance with it, it will take you to the next question. So I had to make, due to this, a lot of sections in the Google Forms. And when you have too many sections in Google Forms, then it starts lagging, starts getting slow, subhanAllah. So like the questions are few, but subhanAllah, because it was answer-based, so I had to put 71 sections, and then it got really slow. So that's why Allah yassir inshallah. طيب الآن يا إخوان نبدأ بتقسيمات الفعل. We'll start with the different classifications of fi'l. So previously we did the classifications of ism, in which we learned that an ism can be mudhakkar and mu'annath. We learned that the same ism can be mufrad, muthanna, or jam'a. At the same time, it can be ma'rifa and nakira or nakira. At the same time, it can be mu'rab or mabni, and mu'rab has 7 different types. Likewise, you had discussed that ma'rifa has 6 different types. And at the same time, if it is mu'rab, then it can be a mu'rab that is sahih al-akhir or mu'tal al-akhir, depending, or it can be mudaf ila ya al-mutakallim. Bismillah. طيب الآن we ندخل في تقسيمات الفعل. Now we start the different classifications of fi'l. So just like ism had 5 classifications, the fi'l also has some classification, albeit it's lesser in amount, and then the harf will be even easier. So the first classification of fi'l is the different tenses. That is ماضي, مضارع, and amr. طبعا amr is not a tense, it's but this is how the classification goes, and that's how the grammarians have put it. They put a madi, they put a mudari', they put an amr. And this is a classification looking at the sigha, looking at the verb form or the scale that is used. That's what they have based their classification on. They haven't based it on the time. In English, the tenses are based on time: past tense, present tense, future tense. This is not based on time. It's based on the sigha, the form, the word form you use, the type of word you're supposed to use, or the way you're supposed to use it. So, مثلا, if there is a word like ذهب, so in Madi it will be used as ذهب. In Mudari it will be used as يذهب. And in Amr it will be used as اذهب. You see? So this is a particular form in which you don't have any letters before the dal. In Mudari you have some letter before the dal. And in Amr, it's a type of Mudari, but in a certain state. So these are different forms, different sighas. So these are the three different sighas that are used, and that's what they base this classification of fi'l on. So they say that the fi'l is three types. It can either be madi, it can be mudari, or it can be amr. طيب. We have discussed this before as well once, and now we're going to go into a bit of inshallah details with regards to it. So first, we'd like to read through the paragraphs and passages, and then inshallah bi'idhnillahi ta'ala we will explain it. يلا إذن أخي أبا بكر حياك الله لو تقرأ جزاك الله خيرا.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد، فيقول المصنف حفظه الله: الباب الثاني بيان تقسيمات الفعل. المسألة الأولى انقسام الفعل إلى ماض ومضارع وأمر. قد تقدم بيان هذا التقسيم عند بيان أقسام الكلمة، وليس كل أقسام الفعل معربة، وإنما يعرب منها الفعل المضارع فقط. وأحكامه مثل الاسم ثلاثة، وهي الرفع والعلامة الأصلية له الضمة، النصب والعلامة الأصلية له الفتحة، الجزم والعلامة الأصلية له السكون.
نعم، اقرأ واصل. فيكون في الأفعال
فيكون في الأفعال الجزم بدل الجر. أما
أحسنت. أحسنت. هنا نأخذ وقفة هنا. طيب، أولا it says انقسام الفعل. What's the meaning of انقسام يا إخوان؟ Classification يعني the fact that the فعل is being classified into ماضي مضارع أمر. Okay. قد تقدم. إيش معنى تقدم؟
Something that happened in the past, or
أحسنت. Something that happened in the past previously we have mentioned يعني this has already come, or this has already passed previously. يعني just to put it, and this is not how we're going to speak it in English. If you translate, then we're going to sort of adjust, but I need to put it literally. We're going to say like past previously, يعني مرة قبله or آنفا, something that has passed previously, something that has been studied, mentioned previously. What has passed previously? Bayanu, explanation of, or discussion about, etc. Bayanu هذا التقسيم, the explanation of this classification عند بيان أقسام الكلمة. So we have already mentioned this classification عند, at. عند means at the explanation, or at the mention of the different types of words. So when we were doing أقسام الكلمة, we said that the kalima can either be اسم فعل or حرف. We mentioned that ism can be different types, and we also mentioned with regards to فعل that it can be فعل ماضي مضارع or أمر. طيب. So we don't have to go through it again, but just if and in case someone forgot, then ماضي means, what does ماضي mean? Past tense. What is مضارع for?
Present or
future. أحسنت. Present and future both is used with مضارع. And أمر is command, imperative, different words you can use. طيب. وليس كل أقسام الفعل معربة. طيب الآن we have three different types of فعل. Now instead of making a whole different classification of فعل that is معرب and فعل that is مبني, يعني we can simply just say it in one line that one of these three أقسام is معرب, the rest are مبني, the rest are مبني. So وليس كل أقسام الفعل معربة, not all of the types of فعل are معرب. What is معرب يا إخوان?
Something that its ending will change as a result of some
words before it. ممتاز. Some words before it, عوامل الداخلة عليه, or يعني something that whose endings will change with يعني along with the change in the words that come before it, or the role it has to play in the sentence. With regards to the فعل, it's mostly because of the words that come before it, because the فعل itself, it does not have a particular role. يعني like an ism can be subject at times, it sometimes can be an object, it's playing opposite roles. فعل is a فعل. So it's not the role here. What is more important is the words that come before it. That's what have an effect on the فعل. So it's more about the عوامل. You remember the word عوامل more than the موقع إعرابي. See, موقع إعرابي was more about the role in the sentence, as we mentioned before, right? But يعني عوامل are the words that are used before it. Okay. So ليس كل أقسام الفعل معربة وإنما يعرب منها. ليس, what is the meaning of ليس?
It is not.
Not, أحسنت. يعني not all of the types of فعل are معربة. وإنما, and merely, إنما means like and only, or إنما merely, which ones are معرب? يعرب منها الفعل المضارع فقط. فعل المضارع فقط. That's the only one that changes. وأحكامه, and its rulings. By rulings we mean like رفع نصب جر. The rulings, just like ism, are three. We have three different rulings, or we use the word, instead of rulings, we use the word state. Previously, we have been using the word state of rafa, state of nasb, state of jar, right? So let's just stick to that word, states. Its states are, the different states that it has are three. What are those states? The first one is the same as ism, rafa, and it's علامة أصلية, يعني the base علامة, the basic sign for the state of rafa, just like ism is a dhamma. Nasb, that's the second state in which a fi'al mudari can be. Just like an ism can be in the state of rafa, it can be in the state of nasb, it can be in the state of jazm. Just like ism has also nasb, fi'al also has nasb, and it's علامة أصلية. And علامة أصلية means like the primary علامة, the base علامة, the base sign of the state of nasb is fatha. That means that's the original sign, and there can be other signs depending on different types or different conditions, but the basic rule is that its sign is fatha. And now instead of jar or khafd, this time around we have jazm. We don't have jar, we have jazm. والعلامة الأصلية له السكون. So previously in ism we were having what? We were having jar, and its علامة أصلية was kasra. This is something that we don't have in fi'al. Now we have jazm. That's a new thing. It's a jazm, and the jazm is another state, and its علامة أصلية is sukun. So that's a state that is specific to verbs, and jar is a state that is specific to ism. So this is exclusive to verbs, and jar state is exclusive to nouns, to asma. Now that is why now you will understand, if you do remember, that when we were discussing the different alamat of ism, the different signs of ism and how do we know that an ism is an ism. One of the alama that we mentioned was the jar itself. The fact that an ism can be in the state of jar. The fact that the prepositions that are huruf al-jar, like min, ila, and ala, different prepositions that are used, the fact that these prepositions are put before a word, that means that that word is an ism. That word is an ism. Fine. So far so good, inshallah. So far it's clear, or there is some doubt?
Inshallah, it's clear.
Alhamdulillah. طيب. فيكون في الأفعال الجزم بدلا. So there is in the أفعال الجزم بدل الجر, يعني instead of. بدل means instead of الجر, instead of جر. طيب الآن نريد من الأخ أبي بكر أن يقرأ لنا ما بقي. لحظة خليني أنزل قليلا. طيب نعم اقرأ بارك الله فيك.
أما الفعل الماضي فمبني على الفتح ما لم يتصل بالتاء الفاعل أو ناء الفاعلين أو نون النسوة، فعندئذ يبنى على السكون، وكذا إذا اتصل بواو الجماعة يبنى على الضم. وأما فعل الأمر فمبني على ما يجزم به مضارعه، وسيأتي بيان كيفية الصياغة لفعل الأمر إن شاء الله.
Now for this we need to go back to our table inshallah. First let me just explain to you the عبارة. أما الفعل الماضي, as for the ماضي فعل, it's مبني. مبني means like it's fixed. It's fixed. يعني it's, the ending is fixed. مبني. It's the ending is fixed on فتحة. That's always فتحة except in 3 or 4 cases we said. ما لم يتصل, as long as it does not attach to. ما لم يتصل, as long as it does not attach to what? To تاء الفاعل, ناء الفاعلين, نون النسوة. فعندئذ, because if it does attach to these 3, then it is مبني على السكون. يعني the ending of the فعل الماضي will be سكون. And if it attaches to واو الجماعة, واو الجماعة, then it will be مبني على الضمة. Then in this case it will be fixed on ضمة. يعني its ending will be fixed on ضمة. What are these words? If we haven't heard of them before, تاء الفاعل, maybe I just give an idea about it. But ناء الفاعلين, نون النسوة, واو الجماعة, what are we talking about? طيب, let's go back to the verb conjugate statement. Just for now, just note down on a paper, or note down on your phone for now, just quickly, or take a quick screenshot to just just remember these words. When it's attached to تاء الفاعل, ناء الفاعلين, and نون النسوة, it is مبني على السكون. And when it is attached to واو الجماعة, it is مبني على الضمة. Just take a quick screenshot of this maybe, or put it in your phone, or so that you can just have a look at this page while we are going through the different verb conjugates. I hope everyone has either written it down or taken a picture of it, so that we can go back to the verb conjugates page. See, these are key words: تاء الفاعل, ناء الفاعلين, نون النسوة, واو الجماعة. And it's also key to know what they are مبني, what the فعل ماضي is مبني on when it attaches to them. Now let's go back. See, يا إخوان, these are the different verb conjugates. Now let us first examine the different conjugates, sighas, for the mudhakkar. And let me now tell you what ta al-fa'il is. Remember we said the fa'il in fa'altu is the ta. tuma, ta, ta. Remember this, ya ikhwan?
نعم.
This ta here is called ta al-fa'il. Now you might ask, in number 3 and number 4, it's not ta anymore, it's tuma and tum. This is for simplification that we say that tuma is the fa'il. In reality, the ta is the fa'il itself. Ma here is only playing the role of determining for us that there are 2 people or more people. And if there is no ma, there's only meme, that means there are more than 2 people. But for simplification, and it is done by grammarians as well, it's not something that I'm coming up with. Simplification, they say tum is the fa'il, khalas, yalla. Otherwise, when they go into details, they say ta is the fa'il, and meme is a harf that denotes that there are more than 2 people. Meme alif is a harf that denotes that there are 2 people, etc. You know, that's what they say. والميم للجمع أو الماء للتثنية وهكذا. This is how they say. When they go into details, they differentiate between the ta and the meme. But يعني just for simplification, we say the tum, whole of it is fa'il. All of this, ya ikhwan, remember this term, don't forget it. It's called ta al-fa'il, ta al-fa'il, ta al-fa'il, ta al-fa'il, ta al-fa'il. What does this mean? The ta, that is fa'il. The ta of the fa'il. This is mudaf and mudaf ilayh. The ta of the fa'il. The ta of the fa'il. Remember this term. Ta of the fa'il. طيب. If you have taken a screenshot maybe or taken a picture, what was the other difficult term that we used over there that you were not familiar with? Na al-fa'ilin. Okay, mumtaz. We used the term na al-fa'ilin. Can someone other than Abu Bakr? Okay, we don't have many people other than Abu Bakr because we just had some, but someone has just left recently. Okay, let us ask Brother Hanif and Brother Haytham. Can you point out some place in these different verb conjugates where the na is the fa'il? Point out the verb where na is the fa'il. And someone فعلنا ممتاز فتح الله عليك أحسنت فعلنا. This is the one. What is the fa'il here يا إخوان? This is the fa'il. Na, the na is the fa'il. What is this fa'il called? It's called na al-fa'ilin or na ul-fa'ilin, just to make it easy. But better to use it without the hamza. Na al-fa'ilin. The na of the fa'ils, of the doers. Why? Because when you use this fa'alna, the doers are more than one. They are either 2 or 3 or more. That's why it's called na al-fa'ilin. What's the term for it? The term for it is na al-fa'ilin. طيب. 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 What about, what's the other term that we used over there that was difficult for us to understand? Or we were hearing it for the first time. We heard that word called noon and niswa. What is the meaning of niswa, ya ikhwan? Does anyone know the meaning of niswa?
Females.
Females, nisa. Nisa is the same as niswa. You can note this down. Notice down that nisa is the same as niswa. Nisa is the same as niswa. So noon and niswa means noon of the women. Right? What do you think is the noon of the women here? In these conjugates. Now we are in the siyagh of the mu'annath. We're not in mudhakkar anymore, we are in mu'annath now. So where do you think is the noon of the women that is being the fa'il, that is being considered as the fa'il?
فعلتن.
Are you sure that the noon here is a fa'il and not the ta? In fa'altunna, because we have a ta. So ta is the fa'il and noon is for the jama'. But for simplification, we say tunna, all of it is the fa'il. So in that case, dista, 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 all of them are ta'ul fa'il. Ta'ul fa'il. And the unna, noon shadda, is to denote that the fa'il are more than 3 in number, than that they are women. But the fa'il is the ta'. Okay, so where is the noon and niswa that is the fa'il? That denotes the doers that are females.
فعلنا يفعلنا يفعلنا
فعلنا يفعلنا يفعلنا تفعلنا. واضح يا اخوان؟ فعلنا تفعلنا افعلنا يفعلنا تفعلنا, all of these are called the same thing. They are called noon of the women, noon al-niswati, noon of the women. This is the noon that is the fa'il. What is it called? It's called noon al-niswa. So far we have learned new terms today, terms that the realities we are familiar with them, but we didn't know what they're called before today. Now we learned that they are called ta al-fa'il, or they are called مثلا noon al-niswa, or they're called na al-fa'ilin. You see, like fa'alna, the one mentioned here is na al-fa'ilin. This one is na al-fa'ilin, right? And now we learned the word noon al-niswa, the noon of the women. Where the noon is the fa'il, that's noon of the women. طيب. And finally, ikhwan, we learned another word that was wawal jama'ati. Wawal jama'ati. What do you think wawal jama'ati translates to? What does wawal jama'ati translate to?
Wow for plural.
That's a good translation, inshallah. Jama'a means like a group of people. So wow of a group of people, jama'a. But where do you think will you find that waw al-jama'a in the different conjugates for the masculine noun, for males, mudhakkar? Where is this waw al-jama'a in one of these conjugates, where the waw is the fa'il? أحسنت. فعلون. فعلوا, and you have يفعلون, and you have more. You have more.
تفعلون
تفعلون, and well, the waw is the fa'il. يفعلوا. All of these are called waw al-jama'a. So this is the fourth term that completes our list of new terms. Now, ya ikhwan, what was the point? First of all, I just want you all to just remember these terms. These super important terms. And I will also add to these terms, those that were not mentioned were there. and that was this alif. This alif is called alif al-ithnain. Alif al-ithnain. This is what it's called. These are things that the grammarians use to refer to these particular words, letters, and we should know because when we read the grammar books, these words will be used. This is called alif al-ithnain, the alif of the two, the alif of the two people. Okay, and I just hope that I'm not missing out anyone. Alif al-ithnain is also this one here. This is also called alif al-ithnain. This is also called alif al-ithnain, yaf'alani. All of these are alif al-ithnain. طيب. In addition to this, we have anything that we missed out on here? Yeah, that's the last thing that is worthy of mention, and that is this ya here. This ya here, this ya is called ya al-mukhataba. Ya al-mukhataba, yani the ya of the female addressee. Yani ya of the female addressee, someone whom we are addressing. This is called ya al-mukhataba. That's the fa'il here. Okay? Okay, ikhwan? طيب. When we were doing these verb conjugates, we did point out what the fa'il was, but we did not name them. We did not name them. Right now, we are doing their names. So we have a list of names here, ikhwan, and I hope that everyone notes it down. So first of all, we have the most important one. Let me just write it down here for you all. Ta al-fa'il. Second term is na al-fa'ilin, or better to use it without the hamza. Then we have alif al-ithnain, the alif of the two people. Alif al-ithnain. Then we have واو الجماعة. واو الجماعة. Then we have يا المخاطبة. And we have finally number 6, known an-niswa. So these are the different types of af'al that occur in these verb conjugates that have dama'ir attaching to them. These are actually names for the dama'ir. This is a damir. Ta al-fa'il is a damir. Na al-fa'il is a damir. Alif al-ithnain is a damir. Waw al-jama'a is a damir. Ya al-mukhataba is a damir. Nun al-niswa is a damir. It's a pronoun that attaches to a fi'l. So these pronouns have particular names. That's it. That's it. To be able to refer to them. Okay, can someone just tell me in fa'alata, what is the fa'il? And don't use these terms, one of these 6 terms. One of these 6 terms. Choose from one of these 6 terms. And I don't want you to tell me ta or alif. I want you to use the term. So what is the fa'il in fa'alata? Alif al-ithnain. This ta here is the ta, it's called ta at-ta'nith as-sakina. It's not the fa'il. See, it's the same ta as in fa'alat. We said that here. We said that here, ta is not the fa'il. It's the damir mustatir. Right? So likewise, ta here is not the fa'il. The fa'il is the alif al-ithnain. طيب. In taf'alani, what is the fa'il? Use the term.
ألف الاثنين.
ألف الاثنين. In, oh, I'm so sorry. طيب. In فعلتما, what's the fa'il? From these terms.
ألف الاثنين.
لا. ليس ألف الاثنين. As long as there is a ta يعني sorry, in this case, not in this case, sorry. Here the ta صحيح, it's not a fa'al, but otherwise, as long as there is a ta, it's the fa'al. Tuma, the ta is the fa'al. The ma here, يعني for simplification, we say tuma is the fa'al, but in reality, is this ta that is the fa'al, and ma is just to tell that there are two people. Okay. In تفعلين, what is the fa'al?
يا المخاطبة.
Yeah, المخاطبة. If it does not, يعني if it's not like يعني if the information is getting a little confusing for you, مثلا you're saying that the ta here is not the fa'il, the ta here is the fa'il, here alif is not the fa'il, here alif was the fa'il. Don't get يعني too bothered by it. Okay, just take it the way it is. Why am I saying that? Because sometimes at this stage, it's not easy to grasp and understand why the grammarians, they determined the ta not to be the fa'il here. Yani, they could have said that the ta here is the fa'il and just simplify it and just say that it's okay, khalas, the ta is the fa'il. But they didn't say so. But why didn't they say so? This is going to become apparent to us later on in later stages of the of grammar. When we advance a little bit, we realize a lot of stuff when we were getting, learning basic grammar, a lot of the stuff was fed to us that might not make sense at that time. But later on, it makes perfect sense. And we understand the reasons why they did not consider here, مثلا, a particular letter to be the fa'il. But right now, just take the way it is. Take it the way it is, okay? In fa'alna, what is the fa'il? One of these 6 terms.
نون النسوة.
This فعلنا, this one.
نا الفاعلين.
نا الفاعلين.
أحسنت, نا الفاعلين. بارك الله فيك. In افعلنا, when you are addressing a number of women and telling them to do something, commanding them. افعلنا, what is the fa'il here?
نون النسوة.
نون النسوة. ممتاز. Okay, ممتاز. In تفعلنا, what is the fa'il?
نون النسوة.
نون النسوة. One more time. In تفعلوا, what is the fa'il? There is this عبارة, there is this sentence that you say, فاعله ضمير. What is this ضمير called? Hidden ضمير, concealed ضمير. ضمير
مستتر.
ضمير مستتر. You call it ضمير مستتر. Then you say تقديره هي. ضمير مستتر. تقديره is a word that you use to يعني explain what is hidden. يعني what is this يعني how do we يعني sort of evaluate what exactly is behind the curtain, and you say that تقديره, the evaluation, the determination of which is here. يعني what we have determined, the result of that is it is here. Okay, طيب. What is the فاعل in نفعل? It's not one of these 6 terms. You will say
مستتر.
تقديره
نحن.
نحن. Perfect. ممتاز. طيب. Now you keep these words in your mind for now. Just keep them يعني in your mind, and so that we can just take some more examples. Okay. Here, بارك الله فيكم. What is the فاعل?
ناء الفاعلين.
ناء الفاعلين. أحسنت. بارك الله فيك. طيب. What about this one? What is the فاعل here? What is it called?
دمير متصل.
ضمير متصل صحيح it's called ضمير متصل. What's the name of this ضمير متصل؟ يعني when you do the Arab you will say ضمير متصل, but we gave 6 names. We mentioned all of these were ضمائر متصلة. All of the 6 names that we mentioned were ضمائر متصلة.
تاء والفاعل.
تاء والفاعل. أحسنت. Okay, very good. Here يا إخوان إن فعلتم, what's the فاعل؟
تاء الفاعل.
تاء والفاعل. أحسنت. ميم is just to denote the جمع. What about تفعلان? What is تفاعل here?
ألف الاثنين.
ألف الاثنين. ممتاز. What is the فاعل here?
واو الجماعة.
واو الجماعة. الله يفتح عليك. ممتاز. تفضل يا أخي أبو بكر. You wanted to say something?
Yes, I wanted to ask a question. This for this تفعلون and تفعلون, could you just tell me what does the noon, last noon represent?
This is what we will be learning in the classification of فعل. Just the مسألة that we were at, which brought us to this whole يعني different ضمائر المتصل. That was exactly the مسألة that we were learning over there. And when we said that the مضارع is معرب and the ماضي is مبني, the next thing that we were going to move on to was the different types of مضارع. And when we will go and learn the different types of مضارع and the signs of رفع, نصب and جزم, then you will realize that the noon in this تفعلون and in يفعلون is actually a sign and علامة of رفع. It's like the tanween, or it's like the dhamma that you have in مثلا in زيد, you have a dhamma, right, to represent رفع. In these verbs you have a noon to represent رفع. So if it is in the state of nasb, you will say يفعلوا تفعلوا. فإن لم تفعلوا ولن تفعلوا. Quran says ولن تفعلوا. Where else do we have لن نؤمن لك, but this is يعني I want a فعل like تؤمنون, لن تؤمنوا, لن تكفروا. يعني subhanallah, I want it with words that are يعني أفعال that have باء الجماعة. subhanallah, where do we وقالوا لن تمسنا, لا, فلن يخلف الله, لا. مثلا ولن يتمنوه, it did not say ولن يتمنونه, يتمنونه. It should have been like يفعلون يتمنون, but it says يتمنوا without the noon. Why? Because the lan was used before it. Yeah, you mean like what I mean to say, if it is in the state of nasb and jar, then you will not have the noon anymore. So this noon actually represents the sign of rafa, sign of the state of rafa, that the fi'l is in state of rafa. Inshallah, I hope that will make it clear. طيب يا إخوان. What about نفعل? What is the fa'il here?
It is مستتر.
ضمير مستتر تقديره نحن. تقديره نحن. ممتاز. What is the fa'il in the فعلوا?
واو الجماعة.
واو الجماعة. طيب إذا يا إخوان, if you have this, يعني I really hope that all the students do have it printed out. يعني this book. Here, what you can do يا إخوان is in this page. This is the previous page. This is page number 11. On page number 11, you have ضمائر متصلة, right? Now, one second. You can say, here you can, in order to preserve these terms and in your mind, you can make a further classification of Dameer Muttasil that are marfu'a, and write down these 6 terms that you learned today, and say here مثلا تاء الفاعل and here you can write na al-fa'ilina. Here you can write alif al-ithnain. Here you can write, what else are we left with? Waw al-jama'a. Here you can write that one that was for the women. Which one is that? I'm missing out on a few. Sorry?
Nun an-Niswa.
Nun an-Niswa, and there's another one with the Nun an-Niswa. Nun an-Niswa, you put it right at the end. And there's one that I'm missing on. Ta al-fa'il, na al-fa'il, alif al-ithnain, waw al-jama'a. Which one am I missing on? Ya al-mukhataba. Ahsant. Ya al-mukhataba. So this is you can put it here just to memorize these terms. These are actually part of the Dameer Muttasil. But many times the grammarians, the Nahwiyin, they use these terms to refer to them. They wouldn't say in a grammar book, they wouldn't be saying like the Dameer Muttasil that is used for a group of men. They were going to say Waw al-Jama'ah. You see? They're not going to say Dameer Muttasil that is used for 2 men or women. They're going to just simply say alif al-ithnain. So that is why it's going to help you, inshallah, if you just add this faida or piece of information at this point, where you can, inshallah, stay, or you can just stay in touch with it now, inshallah. Okay. Now coming back to our main point, that was that fi'l madi is mabni. I'm so sorry that we had to take such a long route to understanding that piece of information. We said that the fi'l madi is always fixed. Its ending is fixed at a fatha. That's the asl. Why is that the asl? You might say there is so much variation. Let's just go with the grammarians now. The Nahwiyin, the way they put it, we are going to accept however, whatever they say. They say that the asl is, the base rule is that the fi'l madi is mabni ala al-fatha. It will always end with at a fatha. Okay? Fatha. Okay? Fi'l madi. We're talking about madi. We're going to stay in this lane. Except when it attaches to ta al-fa'il. Where is it attaching to ta al-fa'il? It's attaching here. So it is mabni ala sukun. Except when it attaches to na al-fa'ilin, then it is mabni ala sukun. Ta al-fa'il is here as well, here as well, here as well. And they said, except if it attaches to waw al-jama'a, then we will have dhamm. Now you might say, it only had fatha in 2 places, that is fa'ala and fa'ala. And despite that, they say that the base principle is the mabni ala al-fatha, that the fi'l madi is mabni ala al-fatha. While we have it in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places, it's mabni ala sukun. But we still say, that is an exception. That's how they've put it. That is because, you know why they've put it? This is not happening like out of, for no reason. That they do it because they say this was not supposed to have a sukun here. It is because if it did have a fatha, then it would have become something like this. Fa'alata or fa'alatu. And what do they say? They say that in Arabic, if you have 4 harakat on the trot, for consecutive harakat, this is considered something as, this is despised in Arabic language. To have 4 harakat on consecutive harakat, 4 harakat on the trot. So what did the Arabs do? They said, we don't want to have 4 harakat. Let's just make this fatha into sukun. And that's why I say, ya ikhwan, Nahw, grammar, is not just rules and it's a philosophy. There is a whole world that they have built, and they have built that world observing the kalam of the Arab, and they explain it to us. And if you want to really learn grammar in the best way, you have to accept their world and understand the philosophy of Nahw. So it's really indeed the reality of Nahw is that it's a philosophy, you see. And there's so much stuff that we need to understand, the nature of words and nature of Arabs, and how 4 harakat is something that is despised and disliked, and they for just to avoid it, they change the harakah of something. There's so much stuff. Like here as well, fa'alata, it would have become fa'alata. So they said that they made it into a sukoon to avoid 4 harakat that are consecutive. Same things here. With fa'alu, they said that fa'alu, it would maybe see, now you might ask here, why didn't we have fa'alu here? Even though there is the 4th harakah as a sukoon. So they would tell you that to avoid confusion with words that end with an alif. So مثلا, the words that end with an alif, like let me give you an example of that. قضى مثلا, قضى. طيب, قضى. Now قضى is a fi'l that ends with an alif. قضى. So how will you put it in with waw al-jama'a? You will not say قضاو. You will not put it with waw al-jama'a like this. لا, incorrect. You will put it like this. قضوا. قضوا. Where did the alif go? The alif is gone. What did it leave behind? It left behind a fatha as a sign that there was an alif here. قضوا, قضوا. It means there was an alif here at the end after dad. So they say that if you put fa'alu, it will give you that same doubt that there was an alif there. So they put a dhamma here. They have a reason for everything, I'm telling you. But this is a philosophy, and you need to follow them and just accept what is coming from their way for now. Inshallah, later on you can make your own philosophy, you can edit it. I have some of the mashayikh, they used to say that I don't agree with the reasoning that the grammarians provide here. They say, no, this is not the reason. This is for some other reason. If they don't agree with some of the reasoning that the Nahwiyin provide, that's okay. That's okay. It's a world. And Nahw is the interesting part about Arabic grammar is that Arabic exists. It's the grammar that comes into existence later on. So you have to adjust your logic and your reason in accordance with the reality. It's not the logic and the reason that existed, that was written down, and then they planned and they said, okay, now let's make a fi'l madi, now let's make a fi'l mudari'. No, it's existent. You are the one who comes in late, and then he looks at this language and he says, okay, you scratch your head and then you say, okay, let me observe. Maybe there's this fi'l that ends with an alif. Okay, we can make a classification for that. We can make a classification for this. Okay, but there is a problem here, so we must provide some reason for it. Okay, so now they say that the fi'al madi is mabni ala al-fatha always. Then someone asked them a question, what about fa'altu, fa'alna, fa'alta, fa'altu, ma fa'altum? Okay, now we need to answer this question. Why doesn't it have a fatha at its end? Okay, the answer to this is that the Arabs, they dislike 4 consecutive harakat. So that's why they put a sukoon here. Okay. One down, next question. Why does fa'alu have a dhamma? Again, okay, you have to think about a reason. So that's how it works. So that's the point that was being mentioned over there. We said that the fi'al madi, the base principle is that it always has a fatha at its end. It's mabni ala al-fatha, and it can have sukoon, it can have a dhamma as well. Now, to simplify matters for you, when you want to express this, like when you're doing i'rab means like when you're explaining in detail what a word is. Okay, just don't go too much into details. To make it just simple, just say mabni ala sukun, mabni ala al-fatha, mabni ala al-dhamma. Like here if I ask you what is it mabni on, fi'l, just say mabni ala sukun, instead of saying it's actually mabni ala al-fatha, but there is a sukun here because of the 4 harakat that we fear that it might have. Don't go into too many details. What's the use? It doesn't have any benefit, right? Just say mabni ala sukun wa mabshi. If I ask you the fi'l here, that in this word fa'altu, these are 2 words, the fi'l that is here, is it mabni or mu'rab? You will say it is mabni, because you know from today's class that the mu'rab is only fi'l mudari. So you'll never use the word mu'rab with fi'l madi. You'll say it's mabni. Mabni means it does not change. Okay, then I will ask you, if it's mabni, what is it mabni on? And what's the haraka is ending? So instead of saying ترى because the grammar say مبني على الفتحة, but there is this fear of 4 consecutive حركات, so we give it a سكون. لا 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 لا, خلي هذا كله, هذا دعه, اترك هذا. Just say مبني على السكون وامشي and then move on. That's it. Okay يا شباب. So this is the يعني for that one point Allah المستعان we had to, but alhamdulillah we benefited from the different terms that we learned today. طيب here also يا إخوان مثلا in most cases except a few يعني we have مبني على السكون because it's attaching to تاء الفاعل or ناء الفاعلين, you know, in all of the cases. But in فعلت we have it مبني على الفتحة, in فعلتا مبني على الفتحة. These are the two cases where we have it according to our way. And finally with نون النسوة it's مبني على السكون, مبني على السكون. Okay, now let's go back to where we were learning about أفعال. طيب. Okay. فأما الفعل الماضي we said فمبني على الفتح, it will be always مبني على الفتحة as long as it does not attach to تاء الفاعل, ناء الفاعل, نون النسوة. فعندئذ then it is عندئذ يعني at that stage, at that time it will be مبني على السكون. Okay. وكذا إذا اتصل بواو الجماعة يبنى على الضم. all of this يعني خلاصة is this, just look at the حركة at its end and say مبني على الفتحة or مبني على السكون or مبني على الضمة, depends. Just look at the حركة and say it instead of confusing yourself too much. وأما فعل الأمر, this is important. فمبني, it's also مبني, but it's not مبني on a particular حركة. It's مبني على ما يجزم به مضارعه. Remember the jazm state? And remember the سكون? So it depends, the فعل أمر, it will depend on the مضارع. The way the مضارع is in the jazm state, that's the way the فعل أمر will be at all times. So put it in English. فعل أمر will be مبني on the state or مبني in the form, مبني on the form that its مضارع is in jazm state. And I'll explain this to you. فعل مضارع present tense يذهب. المستعان, today my handwriting is so يعني ugly. المستعان. يذهب. لن يذهب. لم يذهب. What do you think is the state of مضارع here? Is it رفع, نصب, or جزم in the first example? يذهب.
يذهب.
نعم. رفع state. Okay. What about here? نصب state. What about here?
جزم.
Because it has سكون. What will be the فعل أمر? What will the فعل أمر be in accordance with? Will it be in accordance with this or this or this? According to what we have learned just now. We said فمبني على ما يجزم به. That's the form in which its mudari' is in the jazm state. So which one is it going to be? The first one, second one, third one?
The third one.
The third one. This is the form that the fi'l amr will take. How? Look at the sukoon here. That's how the fi'l amr will be. Izhab. You see, it will have a sukoon at that. So we will say here مبني على السكون. We will say مبني على السكون. مبني على ما يجزم به مضارعه, and its مضارع, its jazm comes with sukoon. Right. Now let me give you another example. Just a while ago, Abu Bakr had asked, what about يفعلون? What's this noon in يفعلون? We said that this is an alama of rafa'. It represents, it denotes that the word is in the rafa' state. يفعلون. And that is why in nasb state, it will not have this noon. لن يفعلوا. And also in the jazm state, it will not have its noon. And that's why it's called noon al-rafa'. It's called noon al-rafa'. The noon of the rafa' state. It's called noon al-rafa'. It's not a damir. That's why we didn't mention it over there. It's a new term, but it's not a damir. So it's not to be mentioned amongst those 6 words. Those 6 words, all of them were damair. All of them were damirs. This is not damir. This is just a letter that represents, denotes rafa'. طيب. يفعلون. لن يفعلوا. لم يفعلوا. These both sound the same. They are the same actually, because both of them don't have no. Now, can I ask you that the fi'l amr that will be for يفعلون, what will it be in accordance with the first or with the second or third?
The third.
The third one. أحسنتم. Because that's the jazm state. Even though in this case it's in accordance with the nasb as well, but let's just keep it to this jazm state. So what will be the fi'l amr? How will the fi'l amr be? It will be if'aluna or if'alu. If'alu without the noon. That's what it means that fi'l amr is mabni ala ma yujzam bihi mudari'uhu. And inshallah we will discuss this. Yeah, this is not something that we're doing right now and then khalas we're not going to do. وسيأتي it will come بيان كيفية, how to كيفية يعني كيف, it's كيفية means كيف يعني how to derive, how to صياغة means like how to formation of the فعل أمر, how to do it. You're going to learn that, but just to understand this right now, فمبني على ما يلزم بالمضارع, what does it actually mean? This is what it means, that it will take the same form as the مضارع will, and it will have a similar form. And with regards to, and I have just one final example for this. There are those mudari', some fi'l mudari', they end with the harf illa. What is harf illa? Does anyone remember the 3 huruf illa? What are the huruf illa, ya ikhwan?
Alif wa ya.
Alif wa ya. Some mudari'as, yani some fi'l mudari', they end with alif wa ya. So مثلا you have the word yarda. Okay? Or let's just take for this, let's take the word yad'u. Yad'u means to call upon someone or call someone. Yad'u. Okay. Now the waw does not show the dhamma because we know it's thaqil. Remember thaqal does not show the dhamma. ما في مشكلة. It shows the fatha though. You will say lan yad'u. Problem is in the jazm state. Lam yad. Now the waw already has a sukoon, right? What did we say was the alama asliya of jazm? We said it's sukoon. Well, already has a sukoon. So what did the Arabs do? They say, okay, let's just manage this by removing the waw itself. That's how it is in the jazm state. Okay, now if I want to call, this is for one person, yad'u, yad'u. If I want to make the fi'l amr from this, what will it be in accordance with? The first state, the rafa state, nasb state, or the jazm state? Jazm state. And that is why you find in the Quran, Udu'u ila sabili rabbika. Udu'u. No, you don't find it Udu'u ila sabili rabbika. You don't find it Udu'u. You find it Udu'u with a dhamma. Why? Because it's in accordance with the jazm state. عرفتم يا شباب? The fi'l amr is going to be in accordance with the jazm state. So that's inshallah what we're going to learn next بإذن الله تعالى. طيب المسألة الثانية. So now in the first mas'ala, the only thing that we were learning was simple. It was supposed to be simple. We complicated it. Let me just summarize it for you. The goal was to learn different types of fi'l, ماضي, مضارع, أمر. We know this, okay? We learned what a madi is. Madi is past tense. We know how the madi is formed because we have learned and memorized the verb conjugates. And if someone hasn't memorized, it's high time that you do. Otherwise, you're going to face a very difficult time in the next class. So, ya ikhwan, you have to memorize those word conjugates in that table, صيغ الأفعال, and you have to write it down a number of times. Otherwise, you're going to have a very tough time. So just use some different verbs. مثلا فعل, ذهب, جلس. So you're going to say جلست, جلسنا. مثلا جلست, جلستما, جلستم, جلس, جلسا, جلسوا. And then for women, جلست, and sorry, جلست, جلسنا. Then جلستي, جلستما, جلستن, and جلست, جلستا, and جلسنا. And likewise for مضارع, we have a whole list of those أفعال. This must be memorized. Okay. If we have memorized, then we pretty much know how the fi'al mudari' is supposed to be for a particular fi'al, how the fi'al madi is supposed to be for a particular fi'al, how the fi'al amr is supposed to be for a particular fi'al. طيب. That's going to make things easy for us. Al-mas'ala al-thaniya is now related to the different harakat it's supposed to have. In the previous mas'ala, we just shed a little bit of light on it. So we said, okay, fi'al mudari' is the only one that is supposed to be mu'rab. Madi is mabni. Amr is mabni. The only one that changes because of the words before it is fi'al mudari'. So how does it change? Or what are the changes that it shows? Or what are those different signs that it shows? There are some cases and there are some complications. So, keeping that in mind, we have made a classification here. We have made a classification of the fi'al mudari' in accordance with the way it behaves in different states. So how does it behave in the rafa' state? How does it behave in the nasb state? How does it behave in the jazm state? In accordance to this, based on this, we have made this new classification. So we said, in this mas'ala, we will be learning i'rab. I'rab means the changes that occur. Changes that occur due to the words before it, which are called awamil, or changes that occur before due to the mawqi' i'rabi, which means role of the word in the sentence. I'rab al-fi'l al-mudari'. How does the fi'l mudari' change? But which fi'l mudari' are we talking about? We are talking about as-sahih al-akhir wal-mu'tal al-akhir wal-af'al al-khamsah. وبيان حالي بنائه. And there are two exceptions for fi'al mudari' when it becomes mabni. حالي means two hals, two scenarios. حالي, that's why it's حالي, حالين, and two scenarios in which it is mabni. So generally we said mudari' is always mu'rab, but there are two conditions or two scenarios in which it becomes mabni. So the classification that we will be learning here, ya ikhwan, is this one. Sahih al-akhir, mu'tal al-akhir, af'al al-khamsa. What does it mean when we use the word sahih and mu'tal? What does sahih mean? Sahih al-akhir mean?
It does not end with
it means that. Can you say that again? Because it was a little unclear voice.
Okay. It does not end with huruf al-illah.
Sahih al-akhir mean it does not end with harf illah. The last letter of the sentence of the word is not a harf illah. What does mu'tal al-akhir mean?
It ends with harf illah.
The last letter of the word will be one of the huruf illah, alif or ya. Mumtaz. So now we understand what sahih al-akhir is, what mu'tal al-akhir is. طيب. What about af'al khamsa?
The five verbs.
The 5 verbs. 5 verbs. طيب 5 verbs. What are those 5 verbs? We will learn that. But okay. طيب. Now let's read through this أخي أبو بكر. ممكن if تقرأ يعني الفعل المضارع أو نقرأ من المسألة الثانية إعراب الفعل المضارعي الصحيح الآخري.
المسألة الثانية إعراب الفعل المضارع الصحيح الآخري المنتهى الآخري والأفعال الخمسة وبيان حالي بنائه. الفعل المضارع يكون أحد الثلاثة: صحيح الآخر وهو ما لم يتصل به ضمير وكان آخره حرفا صحيحا نحو يفتح يضرب يأكل. معتل الآخر وهو ما لم يتصل به ضمير وكان آخره حرف علة نحو يرضى يدعو يمشي. الثالث من الأفعال الخمسة وهي الأفعال التي اتصل بها ألف الاثنين أو واو الجماعة أو ياء المخاطبة، وهي 5 أمثلة: تفعلان يفعلان، تفعلون يفعلون، تفعلين.
ممتاز الله يفتح عليك. طيب here we mentioned 3 words: ألف الاثنين، واو الجماعة، ياء المخاطبة. We all know what it is. There are 3 words we missed out on. What are those 3 words that we didn't mention? تاء الفاعل، نا الفاعلين، النون، النسوة. Okay, ممتاز. With regards to نون النسوة, we will make a mention of it later on because نون النسوة is going to come here. نون النسوة. So now the question remains: what about تاء الفاعل, and what about another one that we missed out on? What was it? تاء الفاعل، نون النسوة, and one more that we missed. What's wrong with me today? تاء الفاعل، نا الفاعلين، تاء الفاعل، نا الفاعلين, and نون النسوة. So نون النسوة, we're gonna make a mention of it, right? But what about تاء الفاعلين, تاء الفاعل and نا الفاعلين? Have a look. What is the fi'l that we are discussing right now? Is it ماضي or مضارع? In that مسألة that we are doing, it's مضارع. طيب, do we have تاء الفاعل in any of these examples of مضارع? تاء الفاعل. We don't have. Do we have نا الفاعلين in any of these examples of مضارع?
No, we don't have.
That means that تاء الفاعل and نا الفاعلين, these both are specific to the ماضي. They don't attach to the مضارع at all. واضح? They don't attach to the مضارع in the first place. That's why we didn't make a mention of them. We made mention, يعني we were supposed, we should be. See, all of the ضمائر مرفوعة that there are that attach with a fi'l, there are 6 that we mentioned today. We mentioned that it can either be any ضمير متصل that attaches to a fi'l. There should be one of 6. So we should address this problem that يعني what happens when the ضمير attaches. So if the ضمير attaches, it should be one of the 6. So we talked about 4. We mentioned 3, and then we were going to mention نون النسوة as well. And we didn't mention تاء الفاعل and الفاعلين. That is because they don't attach to the مضارع in the first place. Now you will understand why we defined, if you notice here, we defined صحيح الآخر as وهو ما لم يتصل به ضمير. It is the fi'l to which the ضمير did not, لم means did not attach. No ضمير, يعني no مرفوع ضمير. ما لم يتصل به ضمير, you can say مرفوع to make it more precise. There is no ضمير مرفوع attached to it. And in addition to this, the last letter آخره was a حرف صحيح, يعني not one of the ألف واو ياء. معتل الآخر, something that's the fi'l to which did not attach. What did not attach? ضمير مرفوع. None of these 6 should attach. Okay, none of these 6 should attach, and the last letter should be حرف علة. That's معتل الآخر. If the ضمير is attaching, then it is supposed to be either ألف الاثنين وواو الجماعة. استغفر الله العظيم. واو الجماعة أو ياء المخاطبة or نون النسوة. استغفر الله. or نون النسوة, which we will discuss later on. What about تاء الفاعل and ناء الفاعلين? They don't attach. Okay. So this is the reality of the أفعال. Okay. Now the question is, يا إخوان, يعني if there is no ضمير مرفوع attaching to it, no ضمير مرفوع attaching to it, then what is the فاعل of يفتح? What is the فاعل of يضرب? What's the فاعل of يأكل? What's the فاعل of يرضى, يدعو, يمشي? Where does the فاعل of these words?
The first letter.
The first letter is never the فاعل. It's never the فاعل. See, here in يفعل, تفعلان, يفعلان, تفعلون, يفعلون, we have the فاعل all along. So we have مثلا in يفعلان the ألف الاثنين, here also ألف الاثنين, here واو الجماعة, واو الجماعة, we have ياء المخاطبة. So what about يفتح, يضرب, يأكل, يرضى, يدعو, يمشي? Where did the فاعل go?
I think it's hidden. تقديره
أحسنت. See, either there is a فاعل after it, really. يعني مثلا you mention this word يفتح زيد, then زيد is the فاعل. خلاص, that's easy. If there is nothing after it, then it's ضمير مستتر تقديره هو. عرفتم شباب؟ ضمير مستتر تقديره هو. If it is for a girl, for a female, تفتح. ضمير مستتر تقديره هي. هكذا. عرفتم? This is now in the خلاص, there's no more help now. In that table we had help. We had هي هو written in blue. Now you have to recognize it yourself. Here also we يعني تفعلان, يفعلان, تفعلون, يفعلون, تفعلين. We made the فاعل red. Now it's not red anymore. You have to recognize yourself. So now يعني gradually you are becoming independent. طيب. So these are the different يعني فعل with regards to types of فعل with regards to the علامة they will show inshallah of the إعراب. Now what happens just before يعني we're going to analyze them tomorrow بإذن الله تعالى, or in the next class I mean, but يعني just have a quick look. يعني in صحيح الآخر it's the ضمة فتحة سكون. Everything is normal. Problem comes with يرضى, again the alif, just like in اسم مقصور, doesn't show the ضمة, doesn't show the فتحة, doesn't show the فتحة, but it already has a sukun. So what happens here you have ضمة مقدرة, you have فتحة مقدرة, easy. But what happens in the jazm state? In the jazm state, what happens is that you remove the alif altogether. حذف حرف العلة. This is something new. So instead of sukun, the alama now becomes the deletion of alif. Now let's come to يدعو يمشي, again because of ثقل, because it's heavy on the tongue. It doesn't show the dhamma, but it does show the fatha, because fatha we said was khafif. But when it comes to jazm, it already had a sukun here, يدعو يمشي. So instead of sukun now being the alama of jazm, they remove the harf illa altogether, and they say that the deletion of the harf illa is the alama of jazm. And finally, the af'al al-khamsa, which are particular af'al, which you mentioned, يفعلان, تفعلان, يفعلون, تفعلون, and تفعلين. 5 that you have to memorize. So with regards to this, if it is تذهبان or يذهبان, then the alama of rafa' is noon. If it is يذهبون, تذهبون, it's the noon. If it is تذهبين, it's again the noon. In the state of nasb, we remove the noon. The deletion of the noon is the alama of nasb, and likewise it's the alama of jazm, the deletion of the noon. There is no noon here. Now your job is today to just go through this, yani these alamat that we have mentioned here, okay? And in addition to this, go back to this table, yani practice this as much as you can, go through the different terms that we have discussed. And when you are going through the فعل مضارع, just try to determine, is this صحيح الآخر, معتل الآخر, or من الأفعال الخمسة. So you will end up, because there is no معتل الآخر, يعني example here in this one, so you will only يعني just go through it and see for yourself. You will find that this is صحيح الآخر, صحيح الآخر, صحيح الآخر. This is من الأفعال الخمسة, من الأفعال الخمسة, صحيح الآخر, من الأفعال الخمسة, أفعال الخمسة, صحيح الآخر, صحيح الآخر. What else do we have? Finally, we have here. Just want you to analyze this. This one is من الأفعال الخمسة, أفعال الخمسة, صحيح الآخر, صحيح الآخر, أفعال الخمسة, أفعال الخمسة. This one is known as niswa. This is the exceptional state. صحيح الآخر, أفعال الخمسة, and this is again the exception. So these are the two which are the exceptions, which we are going to inshallah make a mention of tomorrow. So in this way you will be able to determine, get your mind wrapped around what صحيح الآخر, معتل الآخر. And it is not something out of this world. It's within these af'al that we have already learned. It's not going to be something that is out of this world, inshallah. So نقف هنا ونكتفي بهذا القدر وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا إلى يوم الدين. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. وإن كان لديه سؤال فليسأل. Anyone who has a question they can ask. طيب إذن نقف هنا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.